everyone. Welcome to Gadget Talk. Yep, I'm not in my office. I'm actually going to be in the workshop today building. So Chad's kind of excited about this one because I'm under the gun this time versus him. So
yes, yeah. So we're actually switching spots. So I'm excited. So want to welcome everybody to the show here tonight. Yeah. August 31st. So excited. One more month and going caching.
Yep, one more month. So, I'll be at a Gadget Trail this weekend. Going to be in Jackson County Agritourism Gadget Trail. Agritourism. That's a hard word for me to say, but I'm going to be out there this weekend. I'm seeing some of the pictures of some of these gadgets. I am so looking forward to getting to play with some of these gadgets and doing some videos on them. So
yeah. I was just going to say, I'm thinking that we're going to see some good videos of these gadgets.
Yes, so cool. Ozfox, welcome. I hope you're having a great day on Wednesday where you're at. So that's phenomenal. I see Chad's in the house here, making other cache. I'm sure you have been, as a lot of us have been. Bill on the move. Thanks for joining us tonight. So yeah, it was just going to be kind of funny. Yeah, I think you're laughing at because Chad almost gets a night off. Well, sort of. Yeah. He's going to get some stuff.
I got to sit down.
Yep, sit down. I'm going to be walking around. I'm just not going to be on this camera. We got a couple things set up. We got a build cam over here. I got another cam over here. So I'll be bouncing around different places all night tonight. So not sitting down tonight, but we're going to have a lot of fun. But before we get to doing that, and also you guys, it's going to be interactive tonight. So, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But let's go ahead and hear from our sponsors.
If you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today.
Logwork, the creators of the fantastic logbook, made with genuine Right in the Rain paper. The logbook's designed for the micro containers of the present and future, geared towards the hider who'd rather go caching than doing cache maintenance. Find them at logwork.com. That's LOGWERK.com.
Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and a hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pack tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
Hey, we are an international show. You've been watching the chat over here?
Two Aussies, it looks like, right?
We got two Aussies. We got some people from Canada. Nutella. Sorry,
Utah.
Sorry, I got from Utah. We got Canada. We got Utah. We got Nevada. New York. I mean, we got people from all over the place, and this is just really awesome. Hugh from Canada as well, and then there we go from Long Island, the Caching Dead from New York, and also saw it's going to be interactive tonight. But first, we're going to get into a couple of basic ways that we can attach a birdhouse or a gadget cache to a wall, a tree, a post, different ways, and then as we're doing that, we want you to kind of think of a scenario of how you give us a scenario of what we're supposed to try to attach it to and see if we can come up with a way to attach it.
So is this Stump the Builder?
Yeah, could be Stump the Builder. Yep. We'll see what we do. And if I have the parts here in my shop, we'll see if we can go ahead and build it. I got my compound miter saw ready over here. I probably won't be getting into my shopsmith tonight. So if I can't fix it, I want to be able to do this with tools that just about everybody can have. So just a real simple saw and some drills and some other stuff. So, but let's see what we can do.
No, Audie's game for trying to stump you.
I'm sure he will. And I've seen how some of his chain link fence. Yeah, there's some ways for that. So there's we can figure that out. The fence may come down before the cache does, but we'll come down with the cache, but we'll see. So, but we'll
I've
come
seen
up
some
with,
really creative chain link fence ones that are amazing. Actually, it took me a couple tries to even find it.
oh,
So
yeah.
it was good.
Right. So we'll come up with maybe some ways that we can attach different things, and it may work, it may not, but hey, that's part of building a gadget is the failure. So, all right. So I guess I'll go ahead and get into the first part of it, and I got some of my caches back here. Somebody asked, I think it was Bell one time. Bill on the Move asked me, he goes, all right. And I think this was actually probably one of his ideas of, hey, can you show us some different ways to attach different caches? And I was like, okay, that's a really great idea to be able to do that. So my go-to, if I can attach a birdhouse the way that I would love to, would be to attach it to a fence post. And then 4x4 is probably my go-to if I can do that. Even especially if I can get special permission from the behind the garage. Sorry, squirrel. Gary's asking to say behind the garage. Yeah, this is my garage or my shop. My wife used to love being able to park the cars in here, but I kind of took it over. But I got it cleaned up today, so we might be able to put one in here pretty soon again, if I can keep from doing projects. But if I can put it on a 4x4 post, that's going to be the best thing. And the real easy way to be able to do that is, and I'll go ahead and grab one of my caches here. Okay. And I'm going to go to the build cam here so you can kind of see this. And I already have some wood down here, as you can see. But what I like doing is being able to take a board, and this is a deck board right here. This cache is made out of cedar. And what I'll actually do, I just didn't go all the way down on this one, but you can actually extend it all the way down to the bottom if you like. And then all I do is just put a couple of screws into the top, and then I can just screw it right in there. Now, the way I attach it to the birdhouse itself is that I'll come in with the screws just long enough so that's not going to be piercing all the way through to the other side. But I'll just kind of
so those are like 1.25 screws or something like that.
1.25, 2-inch screws, depending on the thickness of the wood. Now, if they're not having to get into that part of the cache itself, like this cache, the bottom of it actually drops out. So they're not actually going to be getting into that aspect of it here. It could be a little bit longer because nobody's going to get poked on the screw itself. So, but this is just a real easy way to put it on a post. And this is, like I said, this is probably one of my go-tos. If I can put it on a post, this is what I'll do, is just kind of use one of these, the board. Sorry, I'm trying to get it where it's away from the camera. So I'll just use one of the boards and just put some screws. Now, I will use like one of the star screws or something like that when I put it out there, because not everybody's walking around with like a T20 or something like that in their kit. I mean, if they're a gadget builder, they might be, but not everybody's walking around with a T20 screwdriver in there. So this will actually secure it there as well. So that's, and I've used this on, this is wood, and I've also done the same thing on, I'll grab the other one with a PVC board. And I've had this cache has been out. Let's see, Mingo was what, May?
Yeah.
May. Okay. So when we got back from Mingo, I put this outside and it is weathered really well. There's no discoloration or anything on the actual cache on the PVC boards, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, some people are probably sitting here solving the code right now.
So what kind of glue did you end up using on that?
On the PVC board?
Yeah.
I just used a heavy duty, I'm grabbing it right now. I just used a heavy duty.
Okay. So like a plumbing
PVC
cement.
Yeah. Just a heavy duty plumbing cement. And
nice.
There's no nails in this whatsoever. And it is held. It's been watertight. Everything's drying, and it's been through a lot of different weather, a lot of storms.
Well, there's lately. At least 2 screws in it.
Yeah, but there's no, well, that's just to mount it to the fence.
Yeah, post. I know. I'm just joking.
Yeah. So that's, and then once again, I just used the screws. Okay. So there might be a few more. And then I put some screws just into the back of it here, so I could take those out if I wanted to. But this just held up really nicely. But this is probably the easiest way to mount a birdhouse. If you can do a post, or get permission from the landowner to be able to put it out that way, that would probably be my option for that. Now, everybody wants to know, how do you attach it to a tree? Well, easiest way is my preferred way, which
don't
is
say it.
I can't say it because I'm going to say this. You like maple syrup, right? It doesn't really hurt the tree, but we're not allowed to do it that way. Okay. You can poke a tree. It's not going to kill it. It really isn't. But the way we have to do it is you can use like an eye bolt and put it somewhere on the cache, on the cache itself, like from the top, kind of screwed in there, and you could have it hanging from the tree from a chain. You can kind of do a modification of this kind of build where you have the board at top, and maybe you extend it further down, and you have a eye bolt on the top and the bottom, and you run a chain around it. If you can get it to loop up around a low limb and then lock it that way, that's going to be the best way. Now, you don't want to get the chain so tight that the tree starts growing over the chain. That's going to damage the tree a lot more than other things. So you got to be careful with that. So if you can do it, be able to strengthen it, loosen it, but have it around the limb itself, and that'll help it that way. And as the tree grows, it ups the difficulty, right? It ups the trade. I don't know. But that's where you can just kind of be able to change it up a little bit there. So those are really, and I've heard some people using like and I'm going to use this as like, this isn't what it actually is. This is like a rubber band type thing. And I'm just holding this up. You don't want to use some people want to use bike inner tubes. And I've seen that done. But the thing is, rubber deteriorates out in the weather and heat. It'll actually deteriorate, and I see it falling apart. It's great because it does stretch, but you're going to have a lot more cache maintenance. Somebody's going to come up and it's going to be on the ground. So ratchet strap, I guess it could work, but it's really easy to break into it as well. So those are just some really...
Audie grabbed what I was going to say here. We'll bring it up. To use a turnbuckle to adjust it when it's tight. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to mention too.
That's really a good idea. That if you're using a chain or even a cables, you can use that way.
With the
and that's
turnbuckle,
a really great way. Yeah, just a turnbuckle. That's probably one of the better ways. And how would you mount that to the birdhouse itself? So one way that you can keep the chain coming from the bottom. Another way I mentioned. And I have not had a lot of caffeine today, so I just don't know why I'm talking so fast. But when
it's on the other side of the camera.
Yeah, I'm on this side. So I'm gonna grab a couple of boards real quick, and I'm gonna come over here to my build cam real quick. So I mentioned that you could take one of these boards, and I'm just gonna use this one as an example so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. If I haven't misplaced all my stuff over here. Okay, so I'm just going to use this birdhouse real quick and see if I can adjust the camera a little bit so you can see it better.
Okay, and Dave brings up a good point here, that check with your property owner too to make sure they allow or do not allow what you're using to mount the cache to a tree or to a fence or whatever. Right.
And now if they allow you to attach it to a fence, fantastic. That's easy. You're done. If it can't have to a tree, like where we're here along the Wolf River Trail, we're not allowed. We can attach it to a tree, but it can't be nailed to a tree. Well, we're not going to be talking about nailing it to a tree anyways. We'll be strapping it. So this is one way I'm going to show you real quick, real briefly here on this build cam, what you can do. So here's the eye bolt, and you could attach. So this is kind of maybe the length that you might want to go with. So the cache is going to be centered up in here. You can do with an eye bolt at the top and at the bottom. And then you could attach it that way. So you'd have a strap at the top, and the bottom would actually hold it so it hopefully doesn't rotate as much. And you can just tighten it up that way. And maybe you have your turnbuckle somewhere in here. Now you can do like maybe the two eye bolts on the side. Also, depending on how your cache is, you can maybe have, if it opens, say, from the front, this wouldn't be an issue, but I have had caches that have opened from the side, so this would be an issue for that. But maybe you put your eye bolt on the side and you can strap it that way, coming around. So that's just another option that you can do that. Probably doing to a tree is probably going to be one of the hardest ways to really, I would think, to do a cache. And that's why I've done a few trees, and I've used like bicycle cables to put around a limb to do that as well.
Yeah, mounting to trees has always been one of those conversations that it's probably the hardest thing to mount to, because people think it kills the tree if you put a screw or a nail in it. Unless you talk to an arborist, and they'll tell you it doesn't. But
It doesn't, yeah.
Anybody
People
else
that
who
work with-
doesn't
Yeah.
learn about trees, I guess it kills a tree.
It kills tree. Yeah, if you talk to the people that work with trees, yeah, it doesn't kill it. It doesn't hurt it. It's a fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right. It's like us going to get a shot, right?
Yeah, you see bikes in trees all the time that have grown into it, or old things that trees grow through. But
yeah,
geocaching doesn't allow it, so we will go with.
We're going to go with what they say, but it also does come down to even the cache owner, or not the cache owner, but the landowner too. If the landowner gives you permission to do it that way, you are allowed. So, but
You might hear something in your logs.
you might hear something in your logs, but if the cache owner gives it your the permission. Remember, it always comes down to permission.
Yeah, Gary says here, anybody watch Tree Masters, you'll understand better.
Oh yeah,
I haven't watched it. I'm gonna have to watch that.
Oh, watch Tree Masters when they're building those houses. Holy cow! You want to talk about some cool houses? Those are some really.
Oh,
cool.
are they the birdhouse builders?
Not
Not
birdhouse,
birdhouse, treehouse.
Treehouse, yeah, the
builders.
treehouse builders. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched it, but it's a great show. Now, another option that you can do, and I'm just going to use some of this wood over here. Once again, I'm going to come over here that you can do, and this is just going to be kind of a sample. Is I've seen where people, and I'm just going to use my nail gun tonight versus using screws, just because it's simpler and the. So
It's
what
a lot
you
funner
can
than
do?
using screws.
It is. It really is. And if you don't have a pneumatic nail gun, go ahead and invest in one, because it is really great.
Did you guys hear that? Derek gave everybody permission to invest in one. So tell your wife, hey, Derek said
Tell your
it's
wife,
okay.
hey, it saves your fingers. Okay. I'm not nailing my fingers into it or anything. All right. So what I was going to show you here is actually, my pastor at church this weekend mentioned, hey, get your husband a pneumatic nail gun so he doesn't cuss in the garage too. So that was from my pastor. So just not me. Anyway. All right. So say this is the back of the cache. All right. So if you want to do a strap, another way is that you can actually run it through, you nail that to that or screw that into place. And this would give you the space to run a chain or strap or however you want to do it back there as well.
So you're just creating a void or something for the chain or something to run through. Right. Good idea.
Creating that void. You can do it that way. And that's just another way that you could strap it to a tree, even to a post, to whatever you want to do. You could do it that way. And maybe, hey, okay, so you mentioned about a chain link fence. Maybe this is the way you do it on each side, and you screw it into it in between, and you sandwich it so it actually is staying in the chain link fence. So,
nice.
That's real simple. Those are some of the basic ways that I would really put how I do put a birdhouse up. Just some really simple. We don't need to overthink it. I mean, the biggest thing is what's it going to take in your environment that you're putting it up, and how are you going to get permission, and how everything would come together. So, all right, I'm going to look through you've got how you attach some of your stuff. I'm going to go back through the chat here. We're going to switch.
Yeah, sorry. We switched positions, and I'm in charge of the chat, and I'm going through it, but I'm trying not to interrupt Derek too much here. So, but Audie here, actually, let's go through just finding our way here. He mentioned that if the landlord gives you permission, note it in your cache description. I mean, great idea. I mean, that is something that you should put in there. I mean, just like one of the first things I say in my caches is I have permission from the landowner to place this cache, because some people will say, how did you do this? How'd you get permission?
Right. And that's great that Just Finding Our Way said that, because he is a reviewer.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I didn't want to mention that. I didn't want to call him out on that. I didn't know if he wanted people to know that. So
well, if he didn't, sorry.
But it's out.
But it's great.
Derek
Yeah,
spilled the beans.
I spilled beans. I don't have that button.
Yeah.
No, we don't have it in our show.
Yeah. So on yours though, if you have a flat back of it that's like what 12 inches or 8 inches, whatever your thing is, how do you stop it from moving? It just rocks a bit or something like that. Just make it extra tight. I'm not sure.
Are you talking about
The back of the cache? It doesn't matter. It's just a question I had. I'm sure it's easy enough
when I attach it to like a tree.
Yeah,
we'll do 2 points.
2 points.
You do 2 points, or if you're doing it, that's where the bottom would come in, and you can keep it a little bit tighter. So if you had the extended wood down here a little bit further, and you do another strap around the bottom of it, that should help friction. It may wiggle enough, and that's when you're building it. Is it going to affect the cache when you're actually doing it? Is it going to have an issue with that? And that's trees grow weird sometimes, so it may adjust anyways.
Yeah. No, good. Okay. So is that all you had there for your tree one? You want me to cover just a few other ways of mounting?
Sorry, I was reading Audie's.
I read that earlier.
Well,
they don't.
No, they don't. So, I mean, I said I was going to show some basic ways, and these are some really basic ways that we can do this, because I wanted to get into the scenarios of others, what they have, and maybe if they don't know how, maybe we can come up with a way, and it may be a modification of what I showed here, or maybe what you're going to show here in just a second.
Yeah. So what I'll cover is just a few ways to mount it. So if you don't have a tree, you want to mount it to maybe a building, or we can talk about mounting it to a fence or something like that. So a few things that I have here, let me move a couple things out of the way, and I'm sure most people here know what they are. You can remove me from there. Is we have different types of anchors here. And so a lot of my caches actually go into concrete. So my number one mount that I use for my concrete are these wedge anchors here that you see. The way it works is you drill a hole. So the anchor will have say it's a 3/8 inch hole that you put it in, you pound this in, and then once you actually start, you pound this into the hole. Once you actually start tightening the cache down here, tightening the bolt, it will actually, this wedge here will start expanding or coming down here towards the end and expand inside the hole. And it'll actually wedge that bolt or the bolt into the wall. And you have a nice secure amount. So you could actually hang on the thing and it wouldn't go anywhere. So this is a smaller one. They come in many sizes. This one here.
Right.
Yeah, here's a kind of a video. Now, when you're doing this, you need to use what's a hammer drill, right? I actually was going to bring mine in, but I have a big Bosch one, and it's fairly big. I didn't want to have to carry it in here and open it up. But you can I also have a smaller one that I use on a Milwaukee cordless drill. That's a hammer drill that would do do this size just fine. This size, it would probably struggle on. But either way, this is my go-to anchor here. I usually like to put the anchor inside the cache because anybody can unscrew this, right? And then walk off with the cache. So if not, what I've done a few times is put some JB weld on here, around the threads, and that they haven't untightened them or anything. I haven't had any issues. So if I'm really worried about it, you could also, the end of this, if you hit it hard enough, you can actually hit the end of this bolt and actually mushroom it. So then it'd be really hard to get the nut off.
Right.
But again, if someone really wants it, they're going to take it off no matter what.
I mean, like locks only do is keep honest people honest. That's really
Yeah. So this is my go-to for solid block or solid concrete wall, ground, whatever you're going to mount to. If I'm going to go to something like a CMU block wall or a brick wall, which is it's not as hard as concrete. They're a little more brittle, more fragile. CMU block is hollow sometimes. I go ahead and go with one of these anchors here. And this one here works the same way. It's a wedge anchor, but you go ahead and drill your hole. You stick this in. And then once you put your leg bolt in here, it's a leg bolt anchor here. It's actually just called a leg anchor. Once you start putting in the leg bolt, it expands.
Just like a molly does.
Exactly. And then once you take it out, you actually get it so far, you can actually pull the anchor back out if you need to. One of these, you're not getting this out. you're going to cut it off if you need to get it out. That's how that works with those ones. This one I use on CMU block walls or brick. Now, the best place to mount them is inside a mortar joint, if you can. But you can go in the block itself, but I wouldn't recommend it. You don't want to break that block. CMU block walls, which is the big block, you usually see at most stores. They're hollow in certain areas,
right?
And so you just don't want to be breaking that block. This one here is just a nail anchor, really simple anchor that you drill a hole in to a wall. You mount this into the wall, and then you hit it with a hammer. Right? It's just all it is a nail, pretty much. It expands the end of the anchor, and it's stuck in there. Now, to get this out, you got to try and get this nail out, which actually recesses into the anchor here, and that's kind of a pain. The only thing I use this for mainly is for signs. So if I'm putting up a geocaching sign that I want someone to walk away with, or any other kind of sign,
right?
This is what I use. You can get these in different sizes, but that's mainly the only thing I use this for. If I ever want to get this out, typically what I end up doing is I try and use a little claw bar on here, a cat's paw, or I use a grinder and cut the end of it off and pull off my sign. So, I don't want to go over too many. There's so many different anchors you can talk about. This here is also another type of wedge anchor or a nail anchor. Goes into concrete, pretty much same thing. You drill your hole. And then you pound in the nail, it expands. And then this one actually is removable. So this has a nut on it. So you can actually, after you have it mounted, you can actually remove your cache or whatever you have to mount.
Oh, okay.
And then just one more quick one is just what we call these are Tapcons. That's a brand. You just drill a hole that's smaller than this. So, it says on the box what size hole to use with these. I don't remember. So 3/16. So this is a 1/4 inch anchor. So use a 3/16 inch drill bit, which is slightly smaller. And if you look at the threads on here, I don't know if you can see it. They're actually will cut into the concrete and just screw right into the concrete itself, and then that holds it. The only thing about these is if you take it in and out, you might be able to do it once or twice. But after that, you're actually going to end up ruining the hole, and you have to go with a bigger one.
It's just like using drilling into fiberglass, or not fiberglass, into drywall.
Yeah, you end up stripping out the hole, or that's just the way it is. They're not made to go in and out all the time.
Right. So those are just some really great. I love it. If you're drilling into concrete or anything like that, you need to use that expansion to be able to keep anything in there. So that's just it's really great.
Yeah.
Gary said, LOL, I see red herrings in the trees. And what he's referring to is that the Pizza Ninja earlier says, this makes me wonder if there are any good tree climb gadget caches. And that would be nothing. I haven't done any either. I mean, I've done a tree climb and some other stuff, but not a combination. Or even, how cool would it be to have an underwater gadget cache?
I don't know how that would work.
Well, you'd have to scuba dive down to it and try and figure something out.
I figured that. Well, you could free dive, I guess, if you could hold your breath long enough.
If you can hold your breath, yeah, you might have to keep coming up and down, and that'd be another option. So, all right. So here's what we want to do. We want to go ahead and open up the idea. If you have a scenario of how you want to that you need to attach a gadget or a birdhouse or a cache to something, then go ahead and put that in the chat in there. Now, I did want to mention one other one, and I'll have to grab an ammo can. I don't know if I have any of the bolts itself, but I'll show the eye bolt. And this is another way that you can do to attach an ammo can. And I did this with one of my caches as well, because I've seen many people attach an ammo can using the handle to a tree so it doesn't walk off. But as we've seen Chad many times, and I'm going to go grab one of my ammo cans over here just real quick. So y'all talk amongst yourself, and I'll let Chad.
Yeah. So one other way, if you want to mount a cache to a post, we're talking about fence post caches. What you can do to mount it to a fence post or the cache is you can actually use one of these post mounts. And so this actually goes around the fence post. You get them in many different sizes. This happens to be a 2-inch. And this tightens around the post, and you can actually mount your cache right through here. So you do a bolt through the back of your cache into this, and then you probably do 2 of them, right? One high, one low, and then tighten it up, and this will mount. You can also use something that I use a lot of is using a strut. Now, strut's used for electrical and plumbing typically, to mount as mount points. And this will do a bigger piece of pipe, 4-inch or so, like whatever you want to use. You can get them in many sizes as well. This is a 4-inch. And so there's a strut bar that goes across here that it mounts to, and I can grab one here real quick. We'll go back to Derek.
Okay. So, all right. So I'm going to be over here. I'm going to kick over into this build cam. So on this one, so I have an ammo can, and as Chad has shown us several times that when we're working on ammo cans, so I've seen many people attach a chain to the handle. So that's great unless you know how an ammo can works. Another place I guess you could attach it would be down here. This was going to be a little bit easier, but that can be bent out as well. But an ammo can, see if I can get it to, this one's stuck, of course. And I've seen, can do it with the other ones, but a lot of times this ammo can, the lid will come off.
Yeah,
and
I typically come right off when you're not live.
When you're not live, exactly. It's been a long day. I'm not as strong as I used to be today. Anyway, but what you can do is, and I did this with one of the locks, because you can buy a bolt that will come in through the front of this, and you can put a padlock right here in this hole. So what I did is I took that lock there, and I actually took it and I put it back here into the back. So kind of like what you could do. You could do
so
it with
just an eye bolt in there, yeah.
You could do an eye bolt, and then you run your chain through that, and you can Loctite, JB weld it on the other side, and that can hold that in there as well. So they're not going to just as easily walk off with the ammo can itself. They may take the lid and the contents, but the ammo can will stay there. But that's geocaching, right? It can happen. So that's just another way that you can secure a ammo can to a tree versus just a simple chain to it. I saw Audie over here said something that he uses really strong magnets. I put a U-bolt into many ammo cans, was just finding our way. Yeah. So
and Engineer 42 mentioned that about an underwater cache. There was a one near him that's now archived that you use a air compressor or compressed air to raise it like a periscope, right, to get the container. So you had to add a Schrader valve to the end of the dock for a bike pump.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
At the end there's a Schrader valve at the end of the dock that you hooked a bike pump up to. Okay,
that's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, now that you mention it, there is one over here over by Ocean Shores here in Washington that is the same way. You use a bike pump up to a Schrader valve on the end of the dock.
Okay, that's really cool. I like that too.
Yeah.
So all right.
Cool.
So you had your build cam back on. Do you want to go back to
it? Let's go ahead and we can talk just real quick. And I've gone over this before, strut. There's different sizes of strut, right? So this is my standard one size that I use. So you can go with a thicker one too. But this just slides in to the strut. And once you tighten it, it actually pulls on this clamp here, this end that you see here. It pulls it nice and tight and locks it in place.
Right.
So it actually is really nice. And if you don't have, if you want to mount a box to it, an ammo can, or not an ammo can, but like a electrical panel, you can. There's these different types of mounts, and this actually is for the bigger size strut. I have the smaller ones. I was looking over here, and I don't know where they went. So I moved all my drawers around, and now I'm lost. Oh, here they are, right here. So this is the kind here. You actually can take it and slide it in, right? And then this here, you use a quarter inch bolt, 1/4-20, and it threads right in, so you can bolt it right through your container into the place. And if you need to go this way, you can. You just have to push it in and twist it. But typically, it's easier to go through the end of it. Right. And so I use this a lot. You can mount this to a building or a fence post between a couple fence posts, and then mount your containers anywhere you want on the strut.
Right. And once again, it all comes down to what we say many times. It all comes down to permission. You got to have permission of where you put in your cache and the permission from the landowner of how you're going to put it up. That's one of the things when you go talk to them, that's what's going to happen. If your cache ends up being called in from a bomb squad and it gets blown up and you didn't have permission, guess whose fault it is? It's yours.
Yes.
Because generally,
table here.
So it's, and I know TriCache has had one of those blown up, and there can be other circumstances. I understand, just some people, but I was trying to figure out what that sound was.
It's my table.
I thought it sounded like a air siren all of a sudden going.
Oh yeah, it is. Telling everybody I'm raising my table.
I was making sure there wasn't like tornadoes going on around here when I started hearing it, because we do have those tornado sirens going.
Yeah, we don't hear. We get them once in a while, but nothing big. Takes down a tree or two. That's great. I was actually thinking about something from the back of a birdhouse that, you're talking about those eye bolts and something to make them stronger. If you could thread eye bolts into the back of the treehouse board, right? So you have four of them around the corner. But if you did through ones with the bolts on them, it might be a little bit easier. Go ahead and talk for a minute. Let me see if I can find.
All right, yeah. So yeah, I think I'm following you, and that would be actually a really great idea.
So we
if
use
it's
like
longer
a piece of metal or aluminum. My thought.
Right. See, and this is how collaborations kind of things. We start talking about different things, and then we start going, "Oh, how about this? How about this? Would this work?" And then we just start trying things out and seeing what's going to happen. All right, so let's see what you got.
So I don't know what size your birdhouse is, but this is just a blank I had.
Well, I can give you the dimensions of one real quick.
It's not a big deal. I will never use it for anything. This will go one of those things that sit in a drawer or end up just tossing at some point.
About 7.
So I'm using a metal scribe here on my metal here to get. And so what I'm going to do is bend the end of this metal. I'm going to drill some holes for the eye bolts. Oops. Doesn't help when I bump the build cam. Now I did it. Okay. So I'm just going to go 5/8.
Just Finding Our Way says Chad's shop is better stocked than my local Ace Hardware.
That's where I get most of my stuff.
Yeah,
that's why it's not stocked. I keep buying it.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. But I do. There are times I love going to Ace Hardware versus some of the other big box stores, just because I can find more stuff. It seems like. Locally,
we have what's called a Johnson's Do It Center here. It's an Ace Hardware, just the name of it. I love it. They carry everything you want: little bolts, screws, stuff like that. So let me go right back here behind me real quick.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna kick that camera up.
There you go. And I'm just gonna bend this real quick.
Do you actually have a metal bender back there?
Yeah, just a small one. My big one's out in the shop. It's just a brake. Well, it's a shear too, but it's that bad angle. It's really way too tall for me up here.
Must be nice. I mean, I like my shopsmith that's behind me, but just here, let me just go get to this here. Here's my bender, and let me do this. And
yeah.
So.
Okay, so this will give us our corners. And let's see what size eye bolts I have.
Sorry, the pizza just says the A-Team music montage theme when they do games will be playing.
Oh, that would be fun. That'd be fun. So I'm not going to measure this or anything. We're just going to drill 4 holes real quick.
Okay.
I could have measured it and drilled them before I bent it, but I didn't think that far ahead. Yeah, I like my
a van next.
My metal breakout in the shop better.
Yeah, we need to have. We just need to have like a spinner van that we drive around in and break it out and start building stuff, building gadget caches on
There
the
we go.
spot.
That'd be fun.
Gadget builders to the rescue or something. Gadget talk on the
Okay.
move.
So that is there. Probably need to leave that bolt on. So if I leave one on this side, I think you can tighten it easier. Shouldn't need any washers. When you drill the metal, you'll have some shards sticking out. So I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want to poke myself. I hate metal splinters.
Metal splinters are the worst. Well, besides fiberglass.
Just want to make sure there's nothing sharp on it.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
cool.
For audio listeners, that's...
Yeah, sorry. Well, this is not really that great of an audio podcast.
No,
so,
it's not. We wouldn't be the A team. We'd be the G team, by the way.
Yeah.
Be the Gadget
Look
team.
at that. I think I went a little bit too small on my drill.
Well, good news is...
That's what I get for not checking it.
And it's real easy just to up the size a little bit. So you already got the pilot hole now. So you just...
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I did. That is going.
There we go. Yep, got the pilot hole. Now we can go ahead and get the rest of it drilled in. So
we're okay.
All right.
So, anyways, this is just a thought. I'm sitting here thinking about it. I think I would use a nylon. I'd use a lock washer and probably a nylon bolt.
Okay.
On the back of it, just to lock it in better.
Right.
But you could use 2 nuts on the inside too, and that might help tighten it. So, just stick these on here.
Gary says, surprisingly enough, he's had good comments from our audio listeners on watching our build.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's kind of
Nice.
crazy. I mean, evidently we must be descriptive enough, or
Not me. You're doing the narrating.
so
That's good.
That's really good. It's surprising, but I love how. Okay, so now are you thinking this for the back of a birdhouse to attach?
Yeah.
to a
So
fence,
then you
or
could
what do
attach a birdhouse this way, and you could actually make these little ears here. You could actually make them bigger, or even angle them at an angle around a bigger tree, so it actually can keep it from twisting or tilting. That's what my thought is. I could have made these bigger, depending on how big the tree is. If it's a fairly good tree, you probably should have made these like 1.5 inches. Is what I probably should have done. But
now would that go? That wouldn't be going into the tree though, would it?
no. So your birdhouse, and unfortunately, I don't have a birdhouse.
Here, I got one here. Let me give it to you.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We should do a virtual thing where you hand it through the camera.
We can plan that.
Yeah.
It just might take it a few weeks, but
yeah. So my thought is, and again, if anybody has any good ideas in there on the chat, let me know, because I'm just making this up as I go.
And that's
how
I do a lot of my builds. I make
cache
it
is
up
too
on the
much.
way. No. A lot of times I make the birdhouses and give them to others to say, okay, here you go. This is how I would do it, but I don't know where you're putting it. So,
okay, so
options.
This side here would go against the tree on this side. And your birdhouse, you could bolt it in this way to your birdhouse. And then you could run your, say, bungee cord or something. I think I have one.
Or ratchet strap or your
ratchet strap, anything you want. You could, one of these bungee cords that are adjustable, so you can take out the S hook and move it. You could hook here and here. Now, I really like the turnbuckles myself in a chain idea.
Yeah.
But anyways, bungees in the weather and the sun will actually get really fragile. One issue with bungees too is when you're taking them on and off, you got to be careful. I actually know of a guy who lost an eye because the bungee snapped and took his eye out. So you want to be careful when you're using bungees. So, but anyways, turnbuckle with a chain, bungee cord, whatever, would be on there. And then that should keep it nice and secure. If you did these little ears here longer, it would actually go in the shape of the tree, and it would keep it a little more secure, tight, more stable to the tree. If it's a real big tree, you can run these at a 45, 22 and a half, whatever you think. But anyway, it's just a real quick idea or thought on how to build. How to build
That's a great idea. That's really a great idea to be able to do it that way. I hadn't even thought about using the metal because I don't keep metal in my shop like you, but everybody's different. I don't have a metal bender. That was really cool.
This little one's okay. My big one out in the shop I like much better.
Yeah, I mean, we all have different tools and different skill sets, and so whatever you how you want to be able to do it. So still, I'm welcome, Brian. It's okay that you're late. There'll be a test later. You can go back and watch the first half of the show.
We'll allow it this time.
We'll allow it this time.
You know what we should do one of these shows is with the metal bender, build maybe a sign cache, right? That is a fence cache. I think I know someone who has one like that. So
I do too, and I found it when I was down there. Well, I technically could say the DNF Avenger found it.
Yeah, okay.
Sam did. Which
I saw the log. I followed that cache. So
So in fact, he used to be DJ Sam 9218 or something like that. He officially changed his name to the DNF Avenger now after when we launched Cache Fest. So he is now no longer DJ Sam. It's now DNF Avenger is his geocaching name. So sorry. Wait,
we don't need to get into that. Not really. I wouldn't call it a shop. Derek's seen it's not a shop. Not yet. Over here is going to be. I removed my theater, kinda. It's still kind of there, in there, through there. I still have all my sports memorabilia I got to get rid of in there, and the different layers for the chairs. But I got all the chairs out of their popcorn machines. So that is going. It's bigger than this room. It's going to turn in. I'm going to bring all my woodworking stuff in, put a full light door in here, everything in there, so I actually can just go over there and build in the wood shop part.
So we'll be able to have multiple cameras. We were already talking before the show where we can have different setups. So he'll be able to walk between the two different rooms, and we'll be able to see what he's doing for Gadget Talk. Yeah.
So I can go over there and cut stuff on the table saw or drill press or do whatever we need to do. We can be about both places at one time. You know, I think it'll be fun. It's kind of like what Derek's doing, right? He's able to use everything in the one spot.
Glowforge Theater.
No, I don't want to keep the Glowforge in there. I'm going to put the CNC in there because it can get dirty, but everything else clean will be out here.
Yeah, and that'll actually give you a lot more room in that area that you're in right now too.
Mm-hmm. It will. So it'll be nice.
So Dave Wagner, Big Vice is my only metal bender. I have a Vice. That's about it too. Amazing how many little metal brackets really help a cache. We need something strong and slim. Right.
Yeah, I mean it's solid, right? So it'll also, if you put the bolts in it, it'll give it a little more strength, some shear strength and stuff, depending on how you build your cache.
Right. And you could kind of do the same thing if you wanted, like I said, if you wanted to do a piece of wood. And let's see, I have one. You might be able to do with a bigger piece of wood too, kind of the same concept, and maybe doing your bolts a little bit different and attach it there and you pull. So there's another different way, or if you have there's different ways that you could do this. I mean, so you could even do like a 2x4 or whatever and attach it to it and go with a longer eye bolt in top and bottom. And so you have it in 4 places. There's several different ways that you could do it. If you don't have the metal, or it's hard to get the metal, or you don't have the tools, you always can think there's always more than, as they always say, there's always more than one way to skin a cat.
You know what we could do on one of the episodes too, as well. This camera's cutting my head off. Is we can build a metal roof to a birdhouse too. If people want to know how to put just a tin roof on there, right? Just some metal flashing, it's like $1.50 for a piece of metal tin. They're really simple to make once you have the metal bender, right? After you have the brake and the shear.
Yeah, I mean it's all in what you comfortable with. when Bell on the Move was on and he was showing us how he was doing this stuff, and he didn't have a lot of the tools. He didn't have the table saw. He didn't have different things. He had a jigsaw, and he was able to do some really cool stuff. And that's just, it's in the tools that you have and how you use them is really what it is. I've been blessed that over the years, I've been able to pick up a lot of different tools, from the Shopsmith that I have back here behind me to, I've got my compound miter saw, which that's probably one of my go-tos anyways, just about on anything, because it's just easier just to chop it versus.
And that's a slide on there too, so you can actually get some pretty big pieces of wood through there. Right.
So I mean, it'll do about 14 inches. So, but yeah, it'll actually slide through, so I can cut through pretty good. So it does really well. But yeah, it's just, oops, wrong one. It just
I did that. Sorry.
No, that was me. So yeah, that's really good. And then like my bandsaw, I have a bandsaw that's right here attached to my Shopsmith. Now, if you don't know what a Shopsmith is, it's a transformer tool, basically. It's just the easiest way that I can put it. It's a table saw. It's a lathe, which I've never used. It's a drill press, horizontal borer. I've got the attachment for the bandsaw. I also have a planer joiner, which I've never used, because I actually inherited this from Jess's grandfather. And this one's actually, believe it or not, this was made in 1964. This bandsaw, and it still runs, not the bandsaw, but the Shopsmith, and it still runs phenomenal. Love this tool. Use it all the time. It's just great. It's a disc sander as well. I mean, it's just so many different things, and I can still get upgrades for it and replace different things for it and parts for it. So this is just that's I love using that tool. And like I said, it's just a tool. Then I have of course, the handsaw. I started off using a handsaw when I was doing these, or a circular saw. When I started doing my gadgets, that's what I used at first. So, and then I've just kind of over the time just built up in different tools. So it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter what you're using, as long as you're using it and using it safely is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Shopsmiths, those are great tools. I actually looked at one like 15 years ago, because you can get all those attachments on one, like you were mentioning. You got your disc sander, all kinds of different things, and they're made to last. I mean, they will run forever. That one you have, a lot of those older tools are just made to last.
If you take care of it, it'll take care of you. I mean, that's what is. Yeah, in fact, it's due to do some oiling on it, and I just have to oil like 2 or 3 parts, and just a couple of drops of oil, and it runs even great. And so yeah, it's just a really great tool. And I'll move this camera real quick and see if you can see a little bit better shot of it. It's got the caches on top of it. It's dirty right now, but
just funny in our way, it says that he used a joiner a lot, but never used a jigsaw. So it all went to his nephew for rebuilding a historic house.
Oh wow! So yeah, this is the Shopsmith. This is this part right down here. That's the motor to it, and so the on-off switch is on the other side, but that's the motor to it. And you can these tables. I've upgraded my tables to it. One came into the thrift store, and I did a $2,000 upgrade for about $75. I swapped out the tables. So I got those to it. And when I did get it, this is the bandsaw that's over here. And I love this bandsaw. And then I can rip a full sheet of an 8x4 sheet of plywood on this now. So once I put those new tables on it, these actually slide around, and I can actually configure them so these pieces here will actually come out this direction as well. So it's just a lot of different things. And I'm gonna see if I can angle the camera down a little bit underneath it. See if I can see
one of the only things that I've always thought about those is they're so heavy if you need to move them. But does that have wheels or anything?
No, it's got wheels on it. Yeah, it moves around really nicely, and you can get different casters for it. I still have the original casters on it from the 60s, and it still works really great. But you just attach your different attachments to this piece right here, and that's where you attach your saw, your disc sander. And then the opposite side over here, as you can see, there's a coupling, and that will attach to different attachments that you can put over on this side. But the head on this, is what drives everything. And you can get them now where it's digital. So I have to dial the speed up on mine, but you can get it now where you can just put the different power head and you can just push a button and it goes up to speed where it needs to be. So, I mean, they've done so many different things to them now that it's just really, really cool everything that it can do. And now this one has 5 tools. Now it has 7. So you can actually have a router, an over and under router on it now too. So
that is cool. Sorry, I was just looking up Shopsmith to see if they had any images, but I don't see anything.
They do. They do.
Shopsmith.com.
Not sponsored.
I didn't go to that. Not sponsored, but if they do, Derek could use.
I could use some. I would upgrade this one. This is the Goldie. This was the anniversary edition, their 10th anniversary edition. So
nice. Yeah, that is great. Well, anything else you want to add to tonight's show? Any questions here that we missed? I think we got everything in the chat.
There's the TriCache is saying there's ways to bend 10 using angle iron. Yep.
There's all kinds of ways to do stuff. So I just happen to be fortunate enough to have many tools, but I didn't. And so I've gotten these tools because it makes things easier. But I've started, I made stuff using different methods. And then, when you do it enough, it's like, okay, I'm going to get the right tool because it's going to make it that much easier.
Right. And that's why I love what I have here. And it's just the go-to to do. I love the drill press. That's really nice when you're trying to get precision when you're drilling stuff. So there's just a lot of different things. Yeah. See, I use a set of screwdrivers and a hammer. Whatever.
Is that how he cuts his wood? Splits it.
It's a chisel, right?
Well, it will be after you hit it enough. Well, it won't be a chisel; it'll be a screwdriver if you hit it enough.
Yes, yeah. So, but no, I think I covered it. If there's any more questions in the chat, I hope we covered a lot of different ways that you can attach a cache. Really, you don't have to overthink it. That's the biggest thing to me. There's different ways, and you have to be able to do it, adapt it to where you're wanting to place it.
Just finding our way mentioned here earlier. I'm just going through the comments. He uses U-bolts on his ammo cans, which is a great idea too, right? Because the bolts are inside, and so you just have the U sticking out. Actually, great idea.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing that.
That's great. Same concept, different part, and that's really good too.
And Gary asked about mounting to a metal building with permission, of course. I don't know if I'd mount to a metal building. They're not. It depends on what the building would be framed with. Yeah. Because it's not the metal building tin is typically not too thick. That piece of aluminum I had is probably thicker. But that's a good question. I'll have to, didn't mean to click on that again. I'll have to look into that and see, but I would probably do a piece of strut and into some studs. They either usually have a metal stud or a wood stud in there and then put the cache on that. But good question.
Would they be every 18 inches, even on a metal building, or 16?
It depends on what they use. I think they're 24 typically. Okay. But again, there's different manufacturers of metal buildings, and people build them differently. I don't deal with metal buildings too often.
Right.
But I think they're typically for 24.
Yeah. Or you could.
Chad might know that. I think he probably deals with metal buildings more.
Yeah, you just get a magnetic cache and just put it to it.
Actually, a really strong magnet, sticking it on there. If it's really strong, people are going to think it's attached. You don't have to pull it off. Yeah,
I have some magnets. You put like 3 or 4 of them on there. It's not coming off.
Yeah, just don't scratch the metal of the building when you take it on and off. They actually sell a rubber silicone piece that goes on the back of really strong magnets, so you actually don't scratch them.
Okay.
So duct tape. That's funny. Yeah, duct tape would work.
Yep.
Camouflage.
Duct tape or baling wire. It's broke.
Yeah. Nice. So next week, real quick, we are going to have DJW House on. And what he's going to go over is our new caches. So the new Chase cache and the new Scales cache that we have. We've gotten a lot of questions on how they work. So we thought, hey, let's have the creator on himself and he can go over it. So next week we'll be building or talking about the cache with DJW House. And he may have another surprise coming up for something else, but we don't know.
Right. And I'd like to hear if you guys want me down in the shop more or you want me upstairs. And
I want you in the shop more.
You want me in the shop?
Oh, in the shop more.
Okay. So we can come up with different things that we have there. Maybe we can do a build simultaneously. So you're doing it and I'm doing it at the same time. Maybe we could do that sometime. But yeah, I'm up for it. But I would like to hear from everybody as well. See how you guys liked it down here, or how we want to do that. So we're always looking at how we can improve the show and have a lot more fun. I missed that one.
Oh yeah, Engineer 42 would like to know how Dave designs the circuit boards for the kits. So maybe if he can go over that as well.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah. So everybody, what Derek said, send us the comments, questions, anything like that. If you want to come on and you have a cache that you're excited about and you want to share with everybody or show how to build it, send us an email at gadgettalkpodcast@gmail.com.
Right.
We'd love to hear from you and love to have you come on to the show. Again,
Right.
I think we would rather have other cache builders come on the show and show off what they've done than us do it, right? So
Right.
I always enjoy watching and seeing other things that people build. And also next month, if you're going to be at Going Caching, we will be there.
Yep, we'll be there.
Same with Gary. Same with
Emily.
Emily, I can't believe I forgot her name. Emily will be there. So, take a stop by and say hi. We'd love to talk to you.
Right. And if you haven't put in your Williton, go ahead and get that Williton in there as well for Cache Fest, because we are going to be doing Gadget Academy. And that's going to be, Jad and I are going to be taking care of that. And we're going to probably have some other builders on there as well as be mentors. And you get to build one of the gadgets that we have. And we're trying to come up with a new gadget as a premium gadget that you'll be able to build. Nothing that's in the shop right now. So there'll be something completely different, and we'll get to help you build it, and you'll be there, and we'll get to interact with you actually in person. So that's going to be at Cache Fest as well. So don't forget.
That's going to be fun too. There's going to be an amazing. Well, there's going to be a lot of good fun caches there. So and people. So it's
and some of these caches that you're seeing behind me, hey, I'm probably going to put them out somewhere here in the Memphis area now, especially with Cache Fest coming along. And so you might get to find some of them.
That's cool.
So
looking forward to it.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that's it, Chad.
Yep, that is it. So everybody come in next week and see DJ W House. Listen to him about his caches, and on here he says he will talk about the PC boards, PCBs. PC boards. Okay. Yeah, join in next week. It'll be fun.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thanks, everybody.
See you next week.